when you get ready to transplant the pot, pull it out, keep a spray bottle of water nearby you, because you want to keep the roots wet. You don't want to give them a chance to dry out. And sometimes detangling the roots so that you can prune them and get them in good position for growth in their new home with the new soil. Okay? It can take a while, and if it takes too long and the roots dry out, they don't grow back once they dry out. They're dead. Okay? So what you want to do is you'll pull the plant from its existing container. Okay? Untangle all the roots. These work great for that, because some of them can get, and if you're getting a large Japanese maple that you're going to take home, because you're going to get a jump start on this bonsai, which I'm going to show you in a minute, there are going to be some large roots in there, and you're going to want something you can just do this and rake the roots out so that you get them hanging down, get some of the soil out, get them untangled. Then you can take your sharp scissors that you got and prune your roots. Now, if you prune something that's a little bigger, any bigger than 1/8 of an inch, put a little of that Elmer's glue on where you cut it. Okay, seal it up. Because now you're going to stick it back in the soil. It's going to be wet. It's going to be a damp environment. And if it's not sealed, there's a possibility fungus could get introduced to that root, and then that starts making its way up into the plant and starts to take away from the growth and vigor of the plant. Okay? The pruning process that you do with the roots is so that you get that fibrous root growth. In relationship to your foliage, it's very important. If somebody who does bonsai or has been doing it is experienced enough, and you were to bring me a plant that says, could you look at this for me? I've had it for a while and it's just not doing well. First thing I'm going to look at is the roots, because that's probably where the problem starts. Okay? It's the heart of the plant. If the roots are not healthy, the rest of the plant cannot be either. Because that's where it gathers its nutrients, its water, and its needs to grow. Okay? And if it can't do that easily, it won't grow well. Okay? So by pruning the roots, you're accomplishing two things. We're going to stunt the growth a little bit, because we're pruning the roots, we're going to drop it in a container. The benefit is we're going to get more fibrous root growth from the roots that we pruned. Okay? When we get that fibrous root growth, lots of little fibers growing out, and azaleas they're a wonderful fibrous root growth. I mean, they grow, it's unbelievable. Then your foliage and your branch work that you're going to work on in the design of the bonsai can be healthy. And if you got vigorous growth, you're going to be busy pruning. And when you're busy pruning, that means you're busy shaping and designing the tree. Because remember, it's not a process that you go, clip, okay, that's done, and you never touch it again. Now, there's maintenance pruning too, which we're going to talk about. Okay? Soil, or if you're going to use pine, like I said, you can use a lot more of the soil conditioner and a little bit of organic. If you're doing most species, I like to put 50-50. 50 soil conditioner, 50 of this stuff right here sifted. That's all you need. And actually, good bonsai soil, you can handle it, get your hands in it, get it all over you, and simply do this, and your hands aren't dirty, because there's not the small, granular, slimy, clay, muddy stuff in that soil. You don't want it in that soil. That clogs things up, doesn't allow air in, doesn't allow water in. When you water your bonsai, pay attention. When you water, I use a watering can, sometimes I use a hose, okay? But I don't just pour it on there. Let it get in there, and it shouldn't sit on the surface very long, just a few seconds, and it's sucking it through. If it's sitting on the surface too long, your soil might be too compacted. Okay, if it is, that tree's due for some repotting and a new home and a nice new pot with some good clean soil. Okay, so it's going to be really tempting when you get a few bonsai going, you've got your soil in there, and you've got a younger tree that you're still developing its structure and design. You want it to grow vigorously. You want the larger granules of soil in your container for it. When it gets older and it's been refined and you've got to where all I'm doing is maintaining this look, you're going to use smaller granules. Doesn't let as much oxygen and water through. Growth is inhibited a little bit so that you don't have vigorous growth, but the tree's doing well and is healthy. Okay? Because basically what you're doing when you're pruning and designing the tree is you're exacting a response from the plant. And what I mean by that is on a Japanese maple. Chip, why don't you draw it and show them? That's a good idea. On a Japanese maple, God, did I write that many notes? You got your trunk and you got a branch coming off of here, like this. If I cut this here in the spring, okay, right here, I'm going to get 2 shoots out of here then. And this is how you develop branch structure. Now I cut these. Now I got 2 out of here. And you see how the process just keeps going and you develop your branching, okay? So when you're pruning, you're exacting a response from the plant. You're going to make it respond in a different way, okay? If you let that branch just grow, it grows real nice and long, looks like any other tree branch. But this is a small tree. Remember, we're trying to fool everybody. We want them to think this is a small tree. So we got to have this branch with a lot of foliage on it and branches off of it. We're going to have a main branch and secondary branches. Off the secondary branches, we're going to have fine twigs that we're going to develop. And as we do that, we develop foliage. That's where you start to get the appearance of age. Okay? So we're making the plant, by pruning it, we're telling it, I want you to do this. Okay? If you don't prune it, you won't develop the foliage. By actually pruning the plant, you'll develop more foliage. You can thicken it up. And they're called foliage pads. When we start talking about the design, you go from the trunk, the main branches, your secondary branches, then you start working on the foliage pads to get them to ramify and get thicker, lots more foliage.